Hi, everyone. Uh, I'm Seiya, and I'm a software engineer at Uniplus. This is my first time coming to Elm Europe, and also the first time to be on stage at this kind of international conference. So that I'm very excited and looking forward to having a good time with Elm people in Europe. So thank you very much for holding this great event. Thank you very much. My presentation is our journey with the biggest L map in Japan. So let's get started. At the very beginning of my presentation, let me start from our cross-team cultural background. Several years ago, the language primarily used in server-side was Java, and they switched into Scala a few years ago. Scala is a language which has upward compatibility with Java, and plus it has strong type system. And we believe in productivity and safety brought by type, so that's the reason why Scala came into their tools. But how about front-end? This is pretty simple. No choice but JavaScript. Front-end engineers use JavaScript to develop single-page application. They use React, Redux, Immutable.js, and some other related tools as well. In JavaScript, this kind of code can be seen everywhere. Even with this small snippet, it is easy to expect that this type of chaos gets viral in your application. This is pretty horrible. Yes, I'd be like this. If I found this kind of code, really don't want to see that. I call this as a ditch between a front end and a back end. At this time, I felt something that people seem to think front end is relatively easier than back end. People say that. I guess this is probably because front end was field of web designing, so the main work in front end is writing HTML, CSS, and a little JavaScript, so that there is no complex business logic or something like that. But now it's totally different though. Backend engineers in my company use Scala so that they work on topics like object-oriented programming, domain-driven design, clean architecture, and some other architectural trend. However, in front end, they did like, if it's working, that's just fine, because it's working. This is exactly a ditch. In order to fill it, we have introduced Elm to our team. Elm is great, simply great. It's strongly typed and some funny built-in types such as maybe lizard and task. This is really handy for eliminating null or undefined. You can see in JavaScript programming. Because of this strong type feature, we can develop an application with almost no runtime error. Sometimes when backend web API interface changed and I forgot updating the code of it, yeah, I get some runtime error, but that's all. So on production, there is almost exactly no runtime error. Yes. And even Elm can be a ladder to engineers. Typed languages such as Haskell, Golang, Scala are also always coming into alternatives to backends. Some of them are pretty famous for architecture trends like functional programming, clean architecture, microservices, and so on. Using Elm can contribute to cultivate mindset even in front-end people. It enables them to share a common context for discussing software architecture. This is really happening to our team. Back in time, when JavaScript is only primary language to the front-end people, they were always just chattering about the, how can I say, shallow topic. It's like React is hot, Vue.js now is now in trend, Flux is not hot or something like that. It's pretty, how can I say, fashion JavaScript. And, but Aaron brought us to more important topic. This is architecture. How to design model, how to decouple module dependencies. And this is common both on front and back end. So now we have a chance to share great knowledge over positions. Yes. Okay, so that I think you probably have some question like, okay, we understand Elm is great, but how do we use Elm on production? Yes, so I'm gonna show you some our experience using Elm on production. In my company, we have people who called as Elm specialists. They work as a cross-project trainer for Elm. People who come to our team are at first required to solve simple Elm quizzes. It's to learn how to use maybe, how to use wizard. It's like how to manipulate data in Elm way. And almost all people who start writing Elm in our team have JavaScript background, so that even though Elm is a language that's finally transpires into JavaScript, it's totally different language. So that this is very important that to help those newcomers grasp how to use Elm at the very beginning. We call it as a Elm bootcamp. After they learn the basic syntax of Elm, they next go into making simple cloud application with TEA. So that through this program, they learn how TEA works and how to design models in an effective way, or how to composite multiple pages in Elm way. And the last one is really important. It is really famous that Elm is not component-oriented framework, so that people who came from recent JavaScript frameworks like React, Vue.js tend to get mixed up the concept to make application. And in our team, after newcomers will grasp what TIA looks like through the previous program, we currently recommend them to real-world example apps. Yeah, this is a kind of project which lists the real use of every web application framework, and it includes both front-end and back-end. This is really nice for beginners to learn how to structure a real web application. Also nice to evaluate how each framework works out when the code base gets huge. In the real world, we have many things to consider. This is totally different, simple to the application. So that the real product has, it means that the real product has much more functionality than a simple cloud application. And this is also a version of this. This is maintained by Richard Feldman, who gave a talk today here, and we really get inspired by this project. Let me say thank you very much for sharing this great code base. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, this is not actually specific to Elm, but this is extremely worth mentioning. Onboarding is important. Make a clear way for your workers who write Elm at first. Speaking about our specific situation, we are Japanese, so that most of our engineers read only Japanese. So that usually it is tough for them to lead English resources, so that their resources not free available, free limited. So making onboarding comes at first. Onboarding here was including sharing knowledge among team members. Making great onboarding is also the key for people who tries to use Elm on production in future. Fortunately, Elm is a much better language than JavaScript in many aspects. Sure, it brings great productivity to a team, no matter how big or small a team is. This is true strengths of Elm, but in reality, introducing a new language is kind of a tough work, like persuading a boss, looping your workers in. But if you prepare a great onboarding program, it might be a great help. Okay, then I think some people feel like, do we have any real practice using Elm? Yes, we have many, but today I handpicked on 2 or 3 practices we are now doing with Elm. I'm going to show them. We Unipos use Elm at a large scale, and of course we use it on production. Our product has 5 million lines of code, and 2 years have passed since it launched. And the number of engineers was at first 2. One is front-end engineer, the other one is a back-end engineer. But now we have 7 front-end engineers. Our product, Unipos, is composed of 4 separated Elm application, and app is the oldest one, and Unipost was started from app. Last year, operation was added, and this year, team report and person report was added. Front-end engineers work on each application. Each application has different domain, so that, for example, the engineer who work on operation don't have to care any possible influences to other application. So domain responsibility is completely decoupled. We have three advantages of this architecture decision. The first one is onboarding experience. When Operation App was spinned out, there was also an aim to give an opportunity to make production scale map from scratch to engineers who newly joined our team. This really worked out. We think this is a kind of a good onboarding experience. The second one is better upgrade experience. This is predictable that the bigger your app is, the harder to maintain and follow the latest update. We are also the same, but we split out our domain into different apps so that it allows us to do progressive change. Upgrading is also our scope. Last week, I tried upgrading Operation App to 0.19. It was a little tougher, but I think that would be much easier to do that to the whole application. So last one is easiness of experiment. Each one is totally independent so that engineers can try out some experimental stuff like trying out new LM version, trying out some experimental library, architecture challenge, and so on. The next one is type strategy. You guys know this game? I really love it. The loosest one is the primitive type. And of course, it is far better than nothing like JavaScript. The most stringent one is what we call opaque type, which encapsulates type implementation using module system, exposing specific functions which manipulate type. Yeah, each of them looks something like this. When you see function like get by team ID, it has here in primitive type, its type signature describes nothing. That just say string. Type areas is much more describing. It says that string is not just a string, but it is team ID. And opaque type even can encapsulate related functions in its module, and it even describes what team ID is and what kind of manipulation team ID module has. Plus, it's different from two others because it allows element compiler to work to detect type mismatch. This is for safer than two. And I classified three type strategy into table. Just by looking this, opaque type always looks the best choice out of the three. But actually, designing opaque type is rather tough for beginners. I found that some people who are struggling with designing modules, one of our new graduates said like, okay, so yeah, I understand opaque type, it's great technique, but where do I start from? I think I need some guidance to design module. Does really make sense? It's not always like that making new method, unlock method to your opaque type. It's not always like. And simply making getter and setter method is also a bad practice. The importance of opaque type is not to get public internal data structure or domain-specific manipulation. It only depends on the situation. But not always all opaque types look same. Better to think like what kind of method this type should have, what kind of method that type should have. Is unlock method really necessary or not? Making opaque type exactly requires engineers to have skill to design modules. So most of our team engineers start with type areas. Describing type is, I think, most important because if it has a minimum information, at least there is a chance that another engineers can well understand how the code works and go and do give some refactoring to it later on. And then if we find code which has some form of coherency with other part, that is scattered incoherent, low modularity code. In order to fix it, put them into opaque type. We do a little discussion every time in making new type. This is a great process for working as a team. Doing some discussion every time and sharing designing experience from it in the team can build up a common practice. Beginners can learn how to write a good module through this experience. We're using Elm. Elm has no any. So code does not use primitive types at least. This is completely advantageous. Having types is much better than nothing. So our team has started with a few primitive types and many type areas at first. However, the important thing I need to say here is do not keep it. We do not keep it. Discuss with your coworkers and find parts which needs to be module and then make it opaque type. Refactoring is pretty easy part. M compiler is very kind, helpful to you. So don't hesitate to be progressive. Let's start with easy one. Elm will support your team. And also, review strategy will also be easier when using Elm. JavaScript frameworks mostly don't provide you to the way for organizing application structure. So like when we use React Vue.js, we do some discussion like, okay, let's put update logic here, let's put state here, and something like that. But Elm can guide you. This is because Elm has a well-structured, organized architecture called TEA. So that this is much better. And this is also helpful to the reviewing code. And our review strategy says that model is the most important and view is the least. And why Elm is great even in code reviewing is that it can reduce the mental stress over it. Yes, Elm. In Elm, a model says everything so that in your application, just by looking model, you can understand, oh, this application, what is this application is going to do, or when you see message, you can understand what this application going to update state. And this is all. And this is a pretty easy and less time consuming in code reviewing. And so, yeah. Okay, what I can say from this presentation is when you use Elm, make great onboarding. Be nice for newcomers. Of course, Elm is easy to learn, but it'll be better for them to get some help to start Elm. Try to use type in a simple way at first. Opaque type is nice technique to make your application robust, but it is also rather difficult to design. So that at least start with type areas and try refactoring later on. Reviewing code from model. With Elm, you can develop a large-scale application with well-designed structure called TEA, so that this does not distract you from anything but understanding what the code is exactly doing. Model should say everything. So check if model says how the application works out, and it's done. And plus, I strongly feel that Elm is really good for working as a team. I said at the very beginning of this slide, Elm changed our mindset. That means that Elm can cultivate front-end engineer skills. And also Elm can reduce communication costs because without Elm, when we use JavaScript framework, we do some lots of communication because there is no some kind of a common context about architecture and how to put where to put the state, update, view, or something like that. But with Elm, we don't have to. Now we don't have to do that. So Elm contributed to reducing communication costs for us, and Elm pushed up our minimum code quality because Elm. When we use Elm, we use primitive types at least, so that it's much better than nothing like JavaScript. So that's very great. Thank you very much. Our product Infos is a kind of product. There is a cultural recognition reward employees through peer bonus, and we are looking for companies which can try out our product. And now today I have some stickers today, so that please talk to me and get some of this. And thank you very much.
Questions?
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
Hi. If I understand correctly, then your baseline that you're comparing your experience with Elm to is Vue.js, correct?
Yeah, kind of.
Did you have an existing code base with Vue.js that you migrated, or have you started out everything with Elm 18?
So your question is, do we start everything from Elm or some Vue.js? Yeah, we start from everything from Elm, and there is. Yeah, of course, some of us have a little experience, but of course there are people in my team have experience long years using Vue.js. But our team themselves started developing applications all from Elm.
I have a question. So can you? He has a question. So I have a question. Do you organize Elm meetups in Japan?
Yeah, we have Elm Tokyo in Japan. Yes, it's actually has a small number, but we are pretty welcome. So when you guys come to Tokyo, please ping me, and I'm going to tell you when next Elm Tokyo is going to happen.
I also have another question. How many Elm developers you think there are in Japan?
Sorry?
How many developers in Japan? Elm developers in Japan? You know companies hiring in Elm?
Yes, my company is also hiring, so that thank you very much. Yeah. That's kind of work. Actually, my company has a few for engineers from foreign countries like China and Vietnam. I forget, but yeah, I think all people here can lead and light Elm, so that's fine. You don't have to understand Japanese, I think.
I have a question about the overall Elm architecture of your applications. So you mentioned that you use the SPA example from Richard Feldman, which I also look at every day and I'm very grateful for. But sometimes I want to know what other options there are. How to globally structure an Elm app. Do you use any other model, or do you follow the Richard Feldman SPA example?
So your question is, do we use some other alternative of MSP example? Yes, actually, yeah. There are so many examples using Elm to make SPA on the internet, I guess. But yeah, I think let's talk later.
Any other questions? Okay, so thank you very much, Seiya.
Thank you very much.